Hey! Welcome again to the Blue Tech Show, where today we're gonna be talking about one of EA's biggest forgotten franchises, SSX. Yeah, I know, everyone remembers it, no one forgot about it, but EA seems to have. Before we start talking about it, however, you probably noticed that this video isn't about SSX, neither is about SSX3, and not even SSX Tricky. The reason for that is simple. I've never played any of them. Yeah, I know, let's not start this again. Saying I haven't played them at all is a bit of a lie. I have started SSX Tricky before, but the first time I played was years after I was already playing on tour, and just by those games not having any type of character creation was enough for me to lose interest on them. Before you click out of the video, this was a long time ago. I promise I will give them another chance at some point. I just wanted to get my favorite out of the way first. For those who are lost so far, SSX, or Snow Supercross for my dyslexic friends, is a series of snowboarding games published by EA, and according to Wikipedia, it was also created by someone called Steve Dad, who again, according to Wikipedia, also created the Olympic event Border Cross. Oh, and one last thing before we start. As I've said before, I have barely touched any of the other SSX games, so I won't be talking about them in this video. It is a video about SSX on tour, not the other games. If there's something relevant that I believe should be mentioned about the rest, and there is, I'll let you know. SSX on Tour is the fourth game on the series, and from what I've seen online, it's where the formula was getting old to a lot of people, which ended up leading to... yeah. Our cutscene is already insane, check this out. Yeti opens his drawing book and the doodles begin to move around while God Killed the Queen plays in the background. Whatever you think about the game, one thing is clear to me, it has style. Style is the thing that got me hooked into this game when I first played it. Being a Tony Hawk fan and loving punk rock, having a game where everything is doodled, dirty and trashy was the sickest thing I could ever see. If you played this game as a kid, I'm sure you also have memories of drawing this guy on your school books. We get to create our character, which for some weird reason is tied to a symbol that will be used as your tag throughout the game. At first you don't have a lot of options, and to be honest, it is a bit lackluster on the face, hair and beard department. But you unlock clothing, boards, tricks and even some passives with the money you get throughout the game. After making yourself, you have the choice of playing with snowboards or skis. I never chose skis. I don't even know how they play, and I'll probably never know. You have an entire mountain in this game. You can find events on the main map, which are usually separated by stars and lightnings. The stars being show-off events, which are more like a tournament. You race or score against other boarders while some people watch you go down the mountain. While the lightning icons are called shred events, which is the equivalent of going up to someone and challenging them for a race down the mountain. Have I mentioned you can punch kids in the head in this game? Truly amazing. When you first start, this game is a bit slow, but it makes sense. Let me go through how you play this game first, because from what I've seen, it's a bit different than the other ones that came before. Of course, you can use the left analog stick to control your character. Holding X makes you prepare for a jump and releasing it makes you jump. If you played Tony Hawk before, you'll feel pretty much at home here. The differences start with the tricks. You use all the shoulder buttons on your controller to do grab tricks. Mixing them together like R1 and R2 makes a whole new grab trick. You can also use the D-pad not only to control your character, but it flips in the direction you press. In the beginning it is a bit slow, but to me it makes sense because the game does get a bit too crazy later on. After you make some money, you start unlocking new tricks, something called monster tricks. You can push your right analog stick in a direction and the character will do a trick that requires him to unlatch his feet from the board. Unlocking monster tricks means that you can push the analog in a direction and then in another direction to make an even crazier trick. These tricks come with a huge risk. When you unlatch your feet, it takes a moment to do so, and even more to do the full trick, and even after you do the trick, there's still some recovery animation to latch you back on the board. If you don't do it before you get back on the snow, you'll fall and lose part of your monster bar. I don't know what this is called, but I'll call it the monster bar for now. The way it works is, whenever you do a trick, it fills up a bit. It can fill up twice. The first one being a green color that can only be used as boost by pressing square, but when you go over the maximum for the first time, it starts filling again and lets you use the monster tricks. That is basically how the gameplay works. It starts small, slow and simple, and then turns into this. You have various different types of events in this game, more than I even remembered. You got the basic trick events where you go down the mountain and have to do some amount of points before getting to the end, a race where you just have to get to the end before the rest, but of course you still have to do tricks so you can boost your way down, and there's also a lot of other stuff like grind for this amount of time, or stay in the air for a certain amount of seconds, and etc. Remember how I mentioned I wasn't going to talk about the other games? I lied. Some people must be missing the characters from the other SSX games, as you would simply pick your favorite before instead of making your own. And I'm happy to say that you can still challenge them throughout the game and unlock them as playable characters every time you beat someone. It's usually a race to the bottom or a score event, but even though I barely played the other SSX games, it was cool seeing those characters instead of simply ditching them. The graphics are fine, I guess. I never got too excited about how this game looked. It's just what you would expect from the PS2 or GameCube, which, yes, the game did release on the GameCube, and even has some features added to it, such as playing as Luigi. The GameCube is instantly better because of this. The graphics, like I said, didn't seem to be the focus of what they were going for. The style, however. I know I talked about it a bit before, but I just have to expand on how stylish this game is. A grunge, punky look to the entire game, always mentioning yetis, punching, falling, breaking bones. You know what I'm talking about? It's Tony Hawk's Underground on snow. The loading screens and menus are filled with doodles that move around like they're alive, exaggerated proportions, the nerd looking guy being awesome. This game is simply amazing on the style it has. Whenever you start an event, your character acts unbothered or hyped with what's going on. Finishing events mean your character will commemorate by doing flips, throwing himself on the snow, doing things for the camera. It's awesome. And to follow that awesomeness, it had to have an awesome soundtrack. And an awesome soundtrack it has. The theme song for this game is definitely God Killed the Queen by Louis XIV, but it also has Stand Up and Shout by Dio, My Everything by Goldfinger, Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden, Medication by Queens of the Stone Age, Red Flag by Billy Talent, Here He Goes Again by OK Go, and even, hear me out, B-Side Wins Again, which a lot of you might know from Need for Speed Most Wanted. Yeah. I assume EA still had the rights for the song and added to other games too. Awesome. If you don't believe me, you can check out the soundtrack for yourself online or by playing the game. It's really good. The game has no story, which might be a bummer for some people. You just start your career and do event after event, climbing the ranks against other boarders, and that's basically it. Won't it feel repetitive though, I hear you ask? And from my personal experience, it never did. And that's thanks to the great level design this game has, which is almost like one level interconnected. The mountain is gigantic, and most of the time you start an event and can take a different path to the end of the level. And there's a lot of different paths to take. I remember playing split screen with my friends and just doing free rides from the top to the bottom of the mountain. Always taking different paths and not caring about racing or points, just doing some tricks and listening to the soundtrack this game has. If you want to just do that, hear me out. Go to the settings, cheats menu, and put in the following: Road Deer Roundup, Loot Snoot, and at last, Jackalope Style. This will make so you unlock all the characters, get the maximum amount of money possible, and allows monster tricks at any time. That makes so you can enjoy not caring about what you're doing and focus more on the vibe you're getting. I highly recommend that you invite a friend over. Now, we're getting to the end of the video, so I have to admit something. I did not finish this game this time. Yeah, I know, disappointing. I was aiming to finish the entire game before doing the video, but near the end of the game it gets really hard. I mean, really hard. I didn't want this video to come out next year, so I ended up doing everything the game had to offer before turning it down. But still, I got pretty damn far. I got into 20 something in the rankings, and I finished it before, so this will be where the spoilers come into play. There's your warning, if you didn't cut it. In the last event, you drop from the top of the mountain and have to race all the way to the bottom. And when you finish, you get a cutscene that says what happens to each character after the tour. And of course, following the style of the game, it makes absolutely no sense. I won't say what happened to everyone because that would take too long, but for example, Simon went back in time to fight evil, and his whereabouts are unknown. Tyson became the King of Canada somehow, established a 3-day school week, free skis for every citizen, and had ski patrol removed from the dictionary. Elise gave up everything, moved to Mexico to sell shell necklaces. She turned her business into a multi-billion-dollar jewelry empire, bought Canada from Tyson and turned it into a llama farm. And Sid invented extreme full contact yoga? He started a professional league in the US and Asia and is developing an extreme yoga video game alongside EA. Sorry Sid, but I don't think they pushed through with this idea. Anyway, I still think this game is amazing fun. You don't always need a game to be story driven, needing your full focus on what's going on and who is who and what they're doing. This feels more like being around your friends, punching each other for no reason and having fun with it. Would I recommend it to you? Absolutely. This game still has a lot to offer, and it's a shame that EA refuses to touch the series again after 2012. I'll keep hoping that we'll get a comeback someday, but I doubt I have the same expectations as people who grew up with SSX Tricky and 3. But anyway, thank you so much for watching until the end. If you haven't yet, make sure to leave a like. It really helps me out and I appreciate your support. If you have any stories with this game, let me know in the comments. I promise I read every single one of them, and I want to know how you felt about this game after playing it for the first time. Do you believe it's good? Did you enjoy as much as the others? Or maybe you're like me and only played this one. But for now, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.